The Nintendo vs. Palworld lawsuit is one of the most insane attempts that Nintendo has ever made to sue anybody, with the company making the bizarre claim that they have the rights to video game concepts as simple as throwing a ball at a creature. So in this video, I'm going to break down the Nintendo vs. Palworld lawsuit, all of the latest updates on the situation, and what I think the outcome will be. Let's get started. Now, before I discuss what exactly is going on with the lawsuit at this point in time and what I think of it, I want to remind you of what exactly this situation is all about. And it all started back in September of 2024, around 8 months after Palworld first came out. Nintendo decided to take legal action against Pocketpair, the developer of Palworld. Now, this case in itself is highly unusual for Nintendo standards, considering they usually sue people who directly pirate their games. But in this particular situation, Nintendo is trying to sue Pocketpair over game mechanics. More specifically, Nintendo is trying to stake their claim on the action of throwing a ball at a creature to capture it in a video game. That right there is the main controversy of this lawsuit. The issue here is that Nintendo is citing a very general patent as the reason that Palworld is violating their IP. The main question here is whether or not Nintendo's concept that they patented was even legal in the first place. And that legal question is where the controversy really stems from as well. If Nintendo were to get their way and keep these patents legally upheld, it could mean that other companies will also try to file patents and sue over these patents over concepts that they really shouldn't be owning in the first place due to how general they are. This could effectively doom the gaming industry because developers would have to come up with extremely specific concepts in order to legally sell their game. Whether you like or hate Nintendo, this would be extremely dangerous for them to win. But now let's dive into the actual current status of this entire ordeal because it's pretty interesting. Now, unlike most Nintendo lawsuits, the Nintendo vs. Palworld dispute is a bit more complicated, because while Nintendo has filed a lawsuit in Japan against Pocketpair, the actual standoff is taking place both in Japan and in the United States. And obviously, because these are two different countries, what Japan does might not be what the United States will do. But speaking of the United States, let's talk about what's actually going on there with the entire situation. Now, the patent in the United States that Nintendo is claiming that Palworld is violating is patent 12,403,397. Now, the patent itself has a lot of information, and I'm not going to go over all of it right now, but I'll put it on screen in case you want to take the time to read it. Now, the patent itself has a lot of complicated details, but there's one underlying theme here. The concept that Nintendo is trying to claim is extremely general. Trying to make an entire case over this one patent is definitely something that would be legally challenging for Nintendo to do. And because of that set of circumstances, the US Patent Office is re-examining Nintendo's patent. A re-examination is something that does not happen very often with patents at all. And because of that, the Patent Office probably believes that Nintendo doesn't have a legal patent. If the Patent Office decides that the patent is not allowed, this would likely make Nintendo's case fall apart in the United States. But knowing Nintendo's lawyers, they might try to appeal the decision, so it might not all be over at that point. Now, unlike Nintendo's patent situation going on in the US, they've actually filed legal proceedings in Japan. Now, the case itself is still over patents, but Nintendo is actually taking Pocketpair to court in Japan. The difference here is that the case is far more progressed than in the US, where there's not really an official case and it's just a dispute. Now, in this case, there are 3 different patents that Nintendo is claiming Palworld has infringed upon. Similar to the US patent situation, all 3 of these have to do with game mechanics. In reparation, Nintendo is seeking the ban of Palworld in Japan and a monetary payout. which in my opinion, in the unlikely event that Nintendo were to actually win the case, they probably would not get the ban of Palworld and a monetary reparation at the same time. Now, of course, Pocketpair is claiming that the patents aren't actually valid as they should be. Pocketpair's main reasoning in this case is that several games in the past have also used similar concepts, and because of that, Nintendo can't straight up patent it. Now, the Japanese patent office seemed to go for this argument because they basically cited the same reason when they informally rejected Nintendo's patents. Now, keep in mind that this rejection is informal, so there's nothing legally binding at the time being. Because Nintendo does still have to respond before anything can move forward, and what will likely happen is they'll just narrow down the patent or completely change it so that they aren't formally rejected. This would have to be done very carefully because Nintendo would have to file a patent that's unique while making sure that their lawsuit doesn't fall apart. If they can succeed at doing this, they'll have a much stronger case when legal proceedings actually start. Now, like most legal cases, proceedings are usually very slow, so it might be a while until we actually see some results. But now let's discuss what the most likely outcome of this entire ordeal will be. First off, in the US, I don't really think that Nintendo will ever end up filing a legal case. It's looking very likely that the US Patent Office will reject Nintendo's patent, and that would give them no legal grounds to sue. The Patent Office very rarely reevaluates patents, so the fact that they're reevaluating Nintendo's patent probably means that they're going to reject it. Now, in Japan, the outcome will probably be a bit more complicated. As it stands right now, it's not looking good for Nintendo's current patents to be upheld. However, if they do revise them to make them a bit more original but yet still something that Palworld's violated, they might have more of a case. I do think that Pocketpair has a really good chance of winning this case because Nintendo will have to be extremely strategic about how they proceed. Because there is still a chance that Nintendo might just decide to not revise the patent and completely drop the case. More than likely, they'll never end up getting the full reparations that they're requesting, and it might not even be worth it to go for partial reparations. In this situation, Nintendo really has to think about their US fan base who's really mad about this entire lawsuit. Regardless, I don't think it's impossible for Nintendo to win against Pocketpair, but I think it's very unlikely that they would win, or that they would even decide to proceed forward. But we'll see what happens within the coming weeks and months. But anyway guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. Hit the like and hype buttons if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want to see more of my upcoming content. Also, leave a comment down below on what you think will happen with this lawsuit. Thanks for watching.